In the heart of Chicago, on a summer morning in 1915, a quiet tragedy unfolded beneath the surface. The SS Eastland, a passenger steamer filled with families bound for a day of joy, tipped over while still tied to the dock. Over 800 souls were lost in an instant, the echoes of their cries barely rippling through history. It wasn't the Titanic, nor the Lusitania. It was America's forgotten shipwreck, a disaster hidden in plain sight. But why? How did this catastrophe come to be erased from our collective memory? More lives were lost on the SS Eastland than on the Titanic's lifeboats. Yet no one speaks of the Eastland. Why did this disaster sink into obscurity? The SS Eastland disaster is a tale of negligence, a deadly cocktail of corporate greed, engineering failures and sheer human error. And it all happened not in the vast, treacherous ocean, but in the calm waters of the Chicago River. Today we're uncovering the lost story of the SS Eastland, the ship that tipped, taking with it hundreds of lives and leaving behind unanswered questions. It was supposed to be a day of celebration. On July 24, 1915, employees of Western Electric and their families crowded onto the SS Eastland, excited for their company picnic. The ship, docked along the Chicago River, was brimming with life. Men, women, children, all dressed in their Sunday best, ready for a day of laughter and joy. Little did they know the Eastland harboured a dark secret. Beneath its polished exterior, the ship was flawed, a ticking time bomb in the water. The Eastland had nearly capsized before, twice. Yet on that fateful morning, none of the passengers knew they were boarding a vessel with a history of instability. The Eastland wasn't built for stability. Designed to meet speed demands and regulations after the Titanic disaster, she had been fitted with extra lifeboats, but these safety measures added weight to an already top-heavy design. And so, with 2,500 passengers crammed on board, she began to sway, tipping ever so slightly, until the inevitable happened. The SS Eastland was a tragedy foretold, yet no one listened. This was a ship with a fatal flaw, an imbalance in its very design. It was top-heavy, prone to tipping at even the slightest shift of weight. Twice before, it had nearly capsized, and twice it had been patched up and sent back into service. But why? How could such glaring defects be ignored? Greed, negligence, and a tragic oversight. The owners of the SS Eastland prioritized profit over safety, and the lives of 2,500 passengers hung in the balance. When the US government increased lifeboat requirements after the Titanic disaster, no one questioned whether the ship could bear the weight. On the morning of July 24th, as families made their way onto the ship, it began to lean. Passengers moved to one side, laughing, unaware that this shift in weight was sealing their fate. The ship's crew, powerless and unprepared, watched as the Eastland slowly tipped and then, with horrifying certainty, capsized. It all happened in less than 10 minutes. The Chicago River swallowed the SS Eastland whole, taking with it over 800 lives. "844 lives were lost that day. Mothers, fathers, children, entire families wiped out in an instant. Yet the SS Eastland's victims didn't make the headlines. There were no public memorials, no outpouring of grief across the nation. Why? Perhaps it was because these weren't the wealthy elites of the Titanic. They were ordinary working-class people, many of them immigrants. Families who had come to America for a better life, only to meet their end in the very heart of the country they hoped would protect them. The city of Chicago grieved, but the nation moved on. While the Titanic remained a symbol of luxury lost at sea, the SS Eastland became a forgotten footnote in history. It was a tragedy that the powers that be were all too willing to erase. History has a way of forgetting those it deems unimportant. But the SS Eastland reminds us that every life lost matters, that no tragedy should be erased because of the social status of its victims. The real disaster was not just in the capsizing, but in the fact that, for most, it never truly mattered. Why should we remember the SS Eastland? a disaster that has slipped through the cracks of history. Because tragedies like this don't fade away with time, they echo, resonating through the safety measures we have today, through the families who lost generations in a single morning. But more than that, the SS Eastland represents something deeper: how easily lives can be dismissed, how quickly a catastrophe can be buried. Without the SS Eastland, modern maritime safety might look very different. This disaster prompted critical changes in passenger ship regulations and life-saving equipment standards that continue to protect lives today. Yet the story itself, the lives lost, were quietly swept aside as if unworthy of remembrance. It is easy to celebrate progress and safety now, but every law, every safety regulation is written in the blood of those who didn't survive. The SS Eastland is a stark reminder of the consequences when profit overshadows people, when corners are cut, and when warning signs are ignored. In every sense, it is a cautionary tale, not just about ships, but about the fragility of life when carelessness prevails. As we look at the tragedies of the past, we ask ourselves, what have we truly learned? The SS Eastland may have been forgotten, but its lessons are timeless. How many other disasters are waiting, unheard and unlearned? And how many more lives will be lost if we allow history to repeat itself?